Hi everyone and welcome to Creative Cakes by Sharon. Today I'm going to be making a My Little Pony cake of Rainbow Dash. So many of you have been requesting a My Little Pony cake and I wanted to create something special, so I hope you're going to enjoy this 3D version of Rainbow Dash that I'm about to show you. So let's get started. I have here 3 6-inch vanilla cakes and I've cut the round tops off all of them and then cut 2 even layers out of each of the cakes. Using a cake setup board now, I'm going to start stacking the cakes, adding a layer of buttercream on top of each cake until I've reached 4 layers. At this point, I really need to reinforce the cake to make sure it's nice and stable, so I've got these wooden dowels, and once I've measured them against the height of the cake, I can trim them down to size and then insert them back into the cake. Now I need to add another cake board, but this time the cake board needs to be a little bit smaller than the size of the cakes. So this one's about 5 inches in diameter. Now I can finish stacking the last 2 remaining cakes. Now it's important that the entire cake is stable, so I've got a very long dowel here which I'm going to insert right through the entire cake, through the middle cake board, right through to the bottom cake board. Sometimes you need to give it a little hit with a hammer to get it through the centre cake boards properly, and you'll feel once it's reached the bottom. Now that the cake is fully stable, I can easily pick it up without worrying about it wobbling or tipping over, and I want to put this in the fridge to firm up a little before I start carving it. Now while the cake is chilling, I'm going to prepare some Rice Krispie treats, and I came across these cute little blue marshmallows which I thought would be perfect for Rainbow Dash. But of course you can use any marshmallows you have available at home. So into a bowl I'll put the marshmallows, some Rice Krispies, as well as a little knob of butter. All of this goes into the microwave for about 45 seconds on high, and when it comes out you can see that the marshmallows have almost tripled in size. So all I need to do now is mix them all up together well, and then I'll pop it aside and go and grab my cakes out of the fridge. So here we have the body of Rainbow Dash, and because all of the cakes are nice and chilled, it's going to be really easy to carve. So I've just removed the centre dowel for a moment because this is going to make it a little bit easier while I'm carving, but I'll pop it back in once I'm done. So using a sharp knife, I'm going to start shaving off little pieces of the cake at a time, and I'm aiming for a little bit of a rounded cone shape, which is tapered at the top and wide at the bottom. You can see that I'm able to cut away into the cake nice and easily, and the smaller board is simply a guide so that I don't cut in too deep into the cake. Now that I'm happy with the shape of the body, I can start working on forming the other body parts. For the head, I'm making it a little bit oval shaped, and I need to add a little more Rice Krispies at the front for the muzzle. With the remaining Rice Krispie treats, I need to divide them evenly for the 4 legs, and then I can start working on shaping both the front legs as well as the hind legs. Now it's time to cover the whole cake with some chocolate ganache. And after I've got a nice covering of ganache over the cake, I'm going to transfer it to my cake presentation board. Now while the ganache is still soft, I'm going to stick into position the legs, pressing them nice and firmly up against the cake, and this is going to help them stick well to the cake. Now I'd like the top of the legs to blend in a little better with the body, so I can simply shave off some of the Rice Krispies with my knife, and then I can cover all of the 4 legs with some ganache as well. Now I can slide the head onto the dowel very carefully and cover the whole head with some ganache. Now to smooth the ganache and get a nice neat finish, I'm wearing some disposable kitchen gloves And I've got some hot but not boiling water here, which I'm going to dip my hands into and then rub them over the cake. It's really easy to smooth out any bumps and ridges in the ganache, as well as getting into all the creases between the legs and the neck area. Once the cake is all smooth, I'm going to put it aside for a little while. Now I'm going to start working on the wings for Rainbow Dash, and I'm going to add some Tylose powder to the blue fondant to make it nice and strong. I've got a template here for the wings, and I'm going to use it to cut out the shape of the wings and also create some layers for the wings. Once I've got both sets of wings ready, I'm going to insert some wire into them and leave them to dry. I also need to create the ears, and for this I'm going to judge the size and shape by holding them up against the cake to make sure they're proportional. Once again, I'll insert some wires into the ears, and once I'm done, I'll leave them to harden up as well. So now it's time to start covering the cake with the fondant, and because it's a fairly large cake, I'm going to do it in small sections to make it a little bit easier. So to start with, I'm going to work on the hind legs, and before I stick any fondant to the cake, I'm going to brush on some simple syrup. Now make sure you only apply the simple syrup to the area where you want the fondant to stick. This is so that after the fondant is placed onto the cake, I can easily cut off any excess fondant and it will come away without sticking or being soiled by the ganache and can be reused. I'm using a little wooden modelling tool to tuck the fondant in under the legs so it's nice and neat. Now I've rolled out a nice long piece of fondant which I'm going to gently roll onto the rolling pin, as this is going to be wrapped around the entire body. I'm not going to place the fondant over the top of the cake because the fondant would most likely tear given the pointy shape of this cake, and it would create so many pleats that it would be very difficult to smooth out. So now once again, after I've brushed the simple syrup onto the cake only and not onto the blue fondant that's already there, I can gently start rolling out the fondant over the cake and lightly pressing so that it sticks nice and quickly. If you need to trim off any of the excess, do that quickly as it will prevent any tearing, and then just slowly work the fondant into all the creases in the cake and smooth it down. I'm working my way slowly around the cake and using the wooden tool to keep pressing and tucking the fondant into all the grooves. And when I get to the hind legs, I'm simply going to cut up and around the outline of the leg and remove the top excess piece of fondant. Then I can use my fingers to gently push the fondant into the join. At the back, the fondant is overlapped and I just need to cut a straight line into the fondant, and then I can easily remove the top excess piece, gently lift up the second piece of fondant and remove the bottom excess piece of fondant. Then the two pieces of fondant should join nicely and seamlessly back together. This back area is going to be covered by the mane, so if you don't get a perfect join, don't worry too much. Once I've worked my way right around the body, I'll trim off the excess at the top of the neck, and then I can cover the head with fondant, once again trimming off any excess and using my fingers and the wooden tool to tuck the fondant nice and neatly into the neck cavity. I need to add two little indents for the nostrils, and then using the rounded edge of a circle cutter, I'll make an impression for the mouth and insert the ears at this point as well. For the eyes, I have a template, and before I start creating them, I'm just going to check the size against the actual cake to make sure it's nice proportional size. And then using all of the different shades of the fondant within the eyes, I'll start cutting out each section from the fondant and then assemble all the pieces together. To finish off the eyes, all I need to do is frame them with a thin little piece of black fondant as well as some eyelashes. Now for the most fun part of this cake, and that's to create the rainbow mane. I've got all the colours of the rainbow here, and once I've rolled out some long snakes from each colour, I simply need to stick them along the back of the cake. And then using some shorter strands, I'll create the front of the mane. I absolutely love how all the bright colours instantly transform the look of this cake. Once I'm done, I need to simply insert the wings, and last but not least, because my beautiful rainbow dash is sitting, I couldn't fit her little rainbow tattoo on the cake, so I just added it to the board. And here she is, my 3D version of Rainbow Dash from My Little Pony. For those of you who've waited so long to see this, I hope she was worth the wait. Now don't forget to give it a big thumbs up if you enjoyed watching me create Rainbow Dash, and make sure you're subscribed to my channel so that you don't miss out on any of my tutorials. I love getting your feedback, so you can leave me a comment below, or don't forget you can also connect with me on Facebook, Pinterest, Instagram and Twitter. Be sure to check out some of my other videos which I have on screen now for you. I hope you tune in next time, and as always, thanks for watching.